Hello and welcome to another episode of Life Size Voices. My name is Umer Farooque and I am so excited to bring another guest to you guys. Today we have somebody very, very special. She's actually the author of the first book we ever published in Oman. The book's called Perspectives on Leadership, a Knowledge Oman Story. She is also the recipient of multiple international awards for her contributions. And more importantly, she is the assistant professor of the College of Banking and Financial Studies in Muscat, Oman. Please welcome Dr. Mythili Kolluru. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here.
Thank you so much for inviting me on this podcast. It's a pleasure to be here.
The pleasure is mine. Dr. Mythili, we have the opportunity of working with so many fantastic authors from all around the world. And I think what I love about my job is that I also get to speak to them and I get to learn so much from them. And as an entrepreneur myself, it's so important to learn from other people's experiences. So, in your words, what prompted you to write this book? And more importantly, what was the overarching objective you wanted to achieve with the book?
Okay, let me begin with the story. Uh, I was introduced to Knowledge Oman in 2017, and it's not only a story that started, with Knowledge Oman. Basically, I have that you can say aspect in me that I like to do voluntary service from a very young age. I've been involved with World Vision. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's an international organization. And throughout my life, I've always been involved in some or the other activity which is related to sharing knowledge or giving back to society. So that's what connected me with Knowledge Oman because I see a direct link in knowledge sharing because myself, I'm a professor, I'm a researcher, I'm an author, and this is my second book. My first book was my PhD. So when I started interacting with Knowledge Oman, we started working on various projects. And then one day, it just happened over a cup of coffee that we were discussing. And then I wanted to do a case study on Knowledge Oman. And so the conversation just went along with Tariq. Tariq Al-Darwani is the founder of Knowledge Oman, an amazing personality, very, very enthusiastic person with lots of energy. So when the conversation took off, then we just, the idea just took birth that why don't we write a book on Knowledge Oman? And who better than you to write it, So at that time, I was looking at something much smaller, like a case study, because I'm into research. And then when they said book, I was a little apprehensive, thinking, okay, should I take on this project or not? And time passed by. We just, kept thinking about that idea really. And after a period of time, then we decided, and Tariq said, we'll all support you through the journey and all that. So, and finally, we started writing. It was quite a long journey. And that's what prompted me basically to give back to Knowledge Oman as a member and do my role. So, whatever is the call of the hour is what I do as a member in Knowledge Oman. So, maybe it's once working on communication, it's once working on strategy, helping the Knowledge Academy, which is the latest project of Knowledge Oman, or writing this book. So that's what prompted me to write the book.
That's fantastic. And you bring up Tariq. I've had the pleasure of working with him and interacting with him now for almost a year. And I think he's the organization Knowledge Oman himself and yourself. You guys are showing the world that it's not just about monetary benefit. It's not just about making money, and it's not, more importantly, actually, because of the type of country you guys are in, Oman, given that it's so far from the North American region, and given that people have preconceived notions of what that side of the world is, you guys are showing us as North Americans that, you know what, we're doing things for society. And we're doing things for the betterment of not just ourselves, but the people around us. And I think with the book, with the many, many different things you talk about and the way you analyze things and the way you break down things for the reader, it's so easy to understand because it's bite-sized information. It's not a very, very thick book with a biography of every individual of Knowledge Oman. It's something that's easily understandable. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. But with Knowledge Oman specifically, while taking that into consideration, and then with your own work, as you're also a chief strategy officer, you're also an assistant professor, and you have a lot of different things going on. I know you were at a 3-day conference just over the weekend. So how do you manage all of these things? And then more importantly, for you, what's your philosophy when it comes to living a fulfilled and successful life?
So when you put it in that sense, yeah, my plate is quite full. But I guess I just love what I do, I guess. So I really lose track of time. I guess I'm in my zone most of the time, in that space where I really enjoy, because I do research, I do keynotes, uh, I write, I coach, and most important, I'm a mother and wife 24 by 7. That's two relationships that I take very personally, and I honor it at all costs. So when it comes to managing things, I think the main quality that I look at myself is I'm ruthless as time management. That's one thing that I have mastered, and I have given up the digital space in the sense that I don't watch TV. I'm not active on. I don't have a Facebook account. I'm not on Instagram. The only space that I work on, and that too purely for professional reasons, is LinkedIn. I share about the book. I share as being an author because I feel that as a professor, I have a circle of influence, because so many times I get a comment when I finish the class that we are inspired by you. We are inspired to read newspapers. We are inspired to explore strategy, which is my core subject. So I feel that I have a responsibility. It's like a self responsibility I've taken upon myself to help the younger generation, help anyone in terms of knowledge share. So that's what connects me so deeply with Knowledge Oman. And that was the basic objective with which I started this book, that I want to share the story, like you said, about knowledge sharing, about giving back to the society from this part of the world, which you very rightly put it, that whether it's North America or Western side of Europe, unfortunately, perspectives and opinions are quite limited and outdated, I guess, because if you're thinking Middle East is related to some specific stigma or some kind of stereotype opinion that mostly the North Americans carry, it should be broken. And I'm very happy when you said that the book brings out that perspective, that it's not about money. And in fact, there is no monetization here. Because we are all a group of highly professional people, all working, all having full time jobs and personal commitments. Yet we take the time off to share knowledge, to do the initiatives that Knowledge Oman does to spread the word. And when you talk about my philosophy of life, the one philosophy that I have learned the hard way is to listen to the inner voice, not to the noise outside. And I would stand by this any day and time. And you have to support yourself back, what you believe in, with hard work. Uh, so these are the two things that I would stand by any day.
Wow, that's a lot to process for me. There's so much value over there. But the one thing that stuck out for me is you said that you have this sense of, I think it stems from your inner self of helping society and helping the youth. But a lot of people don't have that. A lot of people, and I don't see it as necessarily a good or bad thing. I think it's subjective to the individual. And obviously, we're all brought up in different ways and we all have a different process of growing up and building our careers. But for you as an individual, what was that process like as you grew up, and how did you end up in the career that you're in? How did you end up becoming a speaker? How did you end up becoming, doing your PhD as well? Because those are things that you're not thinking about when you're 10 years old. You're obviously it comes and goes, and maybe you were, but I'd just love to learn more about that.
Oh, definitely. I was not thinking about that when I was 10 years old because I was just a tomboy. in the sense that I was very good at athletics, and that's all that I did was run. And I won probably every sports meet that was there till my 12th standard. I still remember standing on those podiums, first, second, third. So everybody in the school knew that I would be on one of those spots. I studied in Indian high school in Dubai, and the I think that space that you talked about that comes about giving. I think it's from my parents, especially. I would give the credit to my mother, who always talks about giving. And in fact, if I was having this conversation, she would not agree with me because her philosophy is what I hold also. She says, when you give with your right hand, your left hand should not know about it. So, charity or doing something should not be spoken about. So, a lot that I do, a lot that I have done over the years, I've supported, I've helped children, I've sponsored children's schooling. I've done a lot. And most of it I don't speak because of what she said that, we don't want to talk about it. When it comes out, it will come. If you have, you give. And the giving is not only about money. We do a lot of in India what we call as annadan, that is giving of food. So we cook food and give. So as a practice, even when I was growing up, we would do that, and I have done it even during Eid in Oman. We do it in India. So the giving is coming from nature. Another philosophy I strongly believe in is the concept of nurture rather than nature, because many believe that, oh, I am born like this, this is my fate, I can't do anything about it, this is what is to happen. I agree there is a hand of destiny, no doubt about that. But I believe as parents, as people of society, as educators, see, we are fortunate enough to have an education. We are fortunate enough to be able to speak, to be able to influence. So when I finish a class, it's just a regular class, but I always get this comment: we feel relaxed, we feel inspired. I said, oh, okay, I didn't even know that I was doing that, but thanks for the feedback. So, in that sense, the PhD or the writing has been very, very organic. And the area of nurture that I talk about when I talk about my mother, a very major role is played by my husband. And I write a lot of posts. I wrote about Women's Day, and where we talk that men and women have to collaborate together. There is still a lot of gender gap that is there. We see in the world, we see a lot of skill gap. So there are a lot of areas that need to be addressed. And because I'm at that podium where people would like to listen to me, I just take that as an opportunity and spread more concepts, more ideas of how you look forward. So I have a lot of people reaching out to me to do meditation, because I write about meditation. My next book is on mindful workplace. So all of this, all the journey has been very organic. Nothing was so pre-planned. It all happened to, it happened, main thing, because of the fact that I am an open person, in the sense I say yes to opportunities. I take that opportunity. For example, you invited me for a podcast. I was really thinking, when will I even have the time to do this podcast? So since Friday is our weekend and I can commit to you, I said, okay, Friday I can give you this a slot. So in that sense, I say yes to opportunities that I feel are an opening for me, and I am open to failure also. So it's not that life has always been so easy. It's been quite tough. We have faced a lot of challenges in life, and we've just overcome them. And it's that every time I fall, I just get up and I keep walking. I just dust off the failure, and I say, okay, let's do it again. Let's do the best we can. And that support system is there for my family, my husband, my son, and all the other extended family members. So it goes on.
I think that at the end of the day, that's what really matters. It's the support from family, and more importantly, it's getting up when you fall, because we are so scared of failing as a society that we avoid doing the uncomfortable things, and we end up in the same routines that we've been in for the past few years. And to really get out of your comfort zone, You also mentioned something about fate, and I actually have a book coming out. It's right over here. It's called The Kismet Dilemma. It's coming out in June. So it's the fate dilemma, and I'm also from Pakistan originally, and in that part of the world in Southeast Asia, we have a word that's thrown around. This is your kismet, and
Exactly.
when we grow up, it's okay. This is what my life is now. This is what my future is going to be, and I'm going to have to be this type of a person. But the reality is that you have complete control over that. You have control over your fate. And as you brought up opportunity, we're all given opportunities. It does not matter what part of the world you're from, how old you are, what your gender is, you are going to be given an opportunity. It comes down to, are you taking on that opportunity or not? And it's a quote I throw around with my team quite often, but you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So if you aren't going to say yes to the opportunity, how do you expect to better your life? How do you expect to become a better person, have a successful career, and more importantly, build a foundation that you can have a family on, that you can have a support system on? So I really love, everything that you brought up, and I think it really ties into not just the book, but all the work that you're doing. My last question for you, because I don't want to take too much of your time given your busy schedule, but you have the opportunity of working with a lot of young adults as a professor, as an assistant professor. And I'm sure that because of that, you have a unique perspective on what the future is looking like, not from just an academia standpoint, but from an enterprising standpoint and or an entrepreneurial standpoint. So in your classrooms, and then given all the work that you're doing, do you see the world changing in the next few years, especially considering all the technology that's coming through and AI, and the landscape has changed altogether. So considering all of those aspects, do you see students changing? Do you see them changing in a good way, or is it something that we should be worried about?
Okay, your question is very interesting and also very vital. So thanks for bringing up that point because yes, there is a lot of change happening. There's a lot of change happening right like as near as in the next 5 years. I would like to talk about the skills basically. 39% of the skills that we all have now, in the sense you have, I have, at the moment, the students or entrepreneurs or the staff have, are going to change in the next 5 years. And we all have to embrace upskilling and reskilling. So it's like a lot of unlearning and learning the new things. Like, for example, we have to unlearn the Kismet dilemma that you just spoke about. I agree that there is, of course, a huge hand of fate. You are where you are, and I am where I am. Itself is saying that we don't have control over the initial of where we are born and how we happen. But like you said, there are opportunities. We just need to have just need to keep our antennas open and have a growth mindset to willing to try something and willing to move on rather than just stop at that point. So many people here, many people in the world also think that it's going to happen, or many people think the government is going to take care of us or somebody else is. But down the future, free trade and the way the society is moving, or the geopolitical tensions that we are having today, they are going to play a huge role on the mindset. And I see the mindset moving in quite a divergent way. Is it positive? Is it negative? It's positive in one way. I was just interacting with a director of HR. We recently had a very interesting focus group session where we're going to launch a new program in our college. So I was interacting with a director of HR where she said she has Generation Z, Gen Z, young employees, probably half her age. And she said that those people never want to be in their seat or follow the rules, but if you give a task, it's done. You can consider that the task is done. The same thing if you would compare somebody with a present generation, they would rather take and do the task more slow. So the new generation is there, but I think the attention span has come down so much that it's less than that of a goldfish. That's what my research says, and that's scary. So there are areas. we need to address as the global community. See, there are huge stakeholders in the community, starting from the parents, starting from the schools, the kindergarten schools, the higher secondary schools, the higher education schools. And there are elements in the organization, the corporates, the industry, or publishers like you who are spreading knowledge through publishing books. And I really encourage and support you, because we need to also keep the spirit of book reading alive rather than just watching a reel on YouTube or on Instagram. So, in that space, I do see change happening in a very big way. In the sense, it could be slow in some regions. Maybe you'll see the change happening faster in the G7 countries, where it's much slower in adaptation in some African countries or in other parts of the world. So we will see a lot of variations across the economies, because each economy is different. But artificial intelligence is going to change a lot of jobs. So I do take up this through my classes. So even if I'm talking about a subject which is not related, so I will try to bring in the element of change and bring in a certain amount of awareness in them, that you have to upskill, you have to read, you have to understand what's going on, so you better fit. And I always tell my students the difference between a skill and a knowledge. So at in the classroom is not the corporate room. So in a classroom there is knowledge, but if you cannot apply this piece of knowledge, it just remains a line on the PPT slide at the back of me or on your book. So a skill means today the entrepreneurs like yourself, or company owners, they want to know how to solve problems. And I feel that everybody is very much worried about AI replacing. Yes, AI is going to replace, and that's a reality. But we still are in a space. In fact, the new space that we are going to be is that 47% of the work or of every task is going to be performed by a human. 23% is going to be performed by man and machine, and the remaining only by machine. Okay, so we are in a space where we have to coexist with AI. So we have to adapt it, we have to understand it, and move forward. And another thing that my research brought about is that empathy. So empathy is very important. Just understanding people, taking the time to talk to people and listen to people is very important. So these two things, if we have it in place, the generation that is coming about, I think they will be able to manage and come up with their own way. Each generation will find their way and has their own challenges to deal with, right? So in that way, they will be able to work it out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I mean, all generations, doesn't really matter um, what year or decade it is. They've all had their fair share of problems. And it's interesting how you put it. I think my perspective was you have to look at the students and you have to look at how they're going to adapt. But the way you put it is that the institutions and the individuals in charge, so the corporations, the schools, parents, more importantly, they're actually responsible for looking at the landscape of how things are changing, seeing how they need to incorporate or change the way they're raising and teaching the children, and then making changes based off of that. Because, as you mentioned, for a young adult, they have no control over what they learn versus what they actually put into practice. So, that practicality aspect of me going to a classroom, I was never a good student. So I never took the information that I learned from my university or from my school into the business that I do today. But that I felt was because that the traditional schooling system is outdated. And now, as with AI coming out, if a student does not feel the need to do the assignment themselves and get it done by AI, then that means that there's nothing wrong with the student. There's something wrong with the assignment. This assignment needs that AI incorporation into it. So it's like you said, actually, it's very interesting point. They have to work alongside each other. So it's man and machine, not man versus machine. The man versus machine is the wrong perspective, I think.
You're absolutely right. The problem, many get the perspectives and the perceptions wrong, where it's man versus machine. In fact, I tell my students, use AI. No? I want you to use AI, but remember that I can detect AI if you're going to copy. If you're going to do a cut, copy, paste, technologies become so advanced that I know it. So do smart, be more smart than me and AI, and learn from AI. So when we talk about the Knowledge Oman book also, so I've had so many students coming up to me and asking about the book and inquiring about it, because recently we had an amazing opportunity to share the books with young learners, students at a conference in Oman, which is OSHAM, that is Oman Society of Human Resource Management. And that got a lot of visibility, and they were asking, what is this book about? So when you look at the book is a beautiful coffee table edition. It's a very light read, like you mentioned. It's not very heavy. uh, Something which my second book is going to be. This is much lighter, and it takes you to the story of how all people can come together from different walks of life, and how they work together. So I like the best part, and I've received a very good feedback about it. The first chapter, where the title talks about humble beginning. So, it's how organically Tariq grew and how he took it forward. And then the leadership part, where there is a leadership corner. So the book is not only a book for a read, it can also be used by an academician, where you share the book and you say, okay, you just read about it and tell me what's the leadership style. So, like I said in the beginning, it is about what you do with what you have. It's not what you have, it's what you do with what you have. So maybe I just have $1, and maybe somebody has 1 million, but they're crying that they have 1 million, or they don't know what to do with it, or they feel it's not enough. But I feel I have $1. Let me see what I can do with this to make one, two, and two, four. So life will have a snowball effect, it will just like garner and keep on growing. So you just have that belief. I feel there is no time to cry. Honestly, if and in my workspace, I'm known as the motivate. So if anybody is even a little dull, they just walk into my office room and they leave uh, energized. They say, "Okay, what do you want to talk about?" So I say, "I don't know. Let's talk about something," and and it's like that. So you have to look at what you have and to just make the best of it. And eventually, once you make the best of it, there is something called nature, you
Yep.
know, the way the whole cosmos aligns.
Yep.
And that does play a huge role, a very silent role in just that snowball effect, which we talk about, that we do something, it helps, it grows, it grows, it grows. So I believe that effect is there in nature. And so we just have to do what we can with what we
I think that's the perfect way to end this, Dr. Maitri. I really, really
have.
appreciate you for sharing all that. And, I've really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you again for making the time to speak with me. And I look forward to your second book, and I look forward to seeing your posts on LinkedIn as well.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Likewise. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Thank you. Bye bye.
You too. Thank you. Bye bye.